So I thought today I'd just talk a little bit about what are afflictions and what are not afflictions. As I assume that during retreat, that's something that's going on, that you're trying to figure out. So I think before we were talking about attachment and how sometimes people misinterpret what attachment is. So what attachment is it's supported by distorted conceptions that exaggerate or good qualities on someone or something, or project good qualities that aren't there, and then we want to have it, we want to stay with it, we don't want to separate from it. Okay, so there's definitely clinging, there's craving. I call it a bubblegum mind. Your mind is stuck to the object, okay? And then, remember somebody last Friday night, I think it was saying, I can't remember the exact question, they were asking if such and such was attachment, like, if I want to go on retreat, Dharma retreat, is meditation retreat, is that attachment? Yeah. Is it selfish? Or is it, in this case, attachment? So just because we want something doesn't mean we're attached to it. Just because we aspire for something doesn't mean we're attached to it. Okay? So there's wanting, where you see that something would be good, yeah, and then there's wanting where I've got to have it. And there's aspiring for something that you want to attain, a good quality that you want to cultivate, and there's aspiring to get a sense object or get ahead in the world, and you're glued to that idea, okay? So in the same way, with desire, there's the desire that's polluted. I desire this, I desire that, gimme, gimme, gimme. And there's desire in the sense of I aspire for something virtuously, that is virtuous. Because if you think that every time you want or aspire for something, it's attachment, then your image of a Dharma practitioner is going to be somebody who just sits there and goes, duh, I don't care, duh, duh, I don't want anything, I don't aspire for anything. Now, when you look at people like His Holiness Dalai Lama, is he like that? When you look at your other teachers, are they like that? No, they're very clear. This is the thing. They're very clear on what is virtuous, on what is beneficial, and they go for it. They're not attached, like, I've got to have that outcome or else I'm a failure as a bodhisattva. They don't have that kind of ego glorification from accomplishing something, but they certainly do desire and want and aspire for things. They don't just sit there, okay? So when you aspire to generate bodhicitta, when you want to go deeper in your practice, when you want to attend weekly teachings or go on retreat, that's fine. That's virtuous. Unless, of course, you want to go on retreat because the person you like is on retreat, and you're tired of being with your spouse and you want to check out someone else. That is not the right motivation for going on retreat, okay? But assuming you don't have that, and sometimes I should not assume that, I've learned, your aspiration to do something virtuous is really positive. And, don't doubt yourself and say, oh, well, my family wants to go, on a ski trip, and I want to go on retreat, so I'm being so selfish. I should just go on the ski trip, and besides, it's so much fun, and that way I'm being compassionate to them. Okay, so, that's not what we're talking about, okay? Then, there's sometimes a confusion between anger and speaking forcefully, okay? So anger is a mental attitude. It's an emotion. It's not a behavior, okay? And it's one, again, where you have exaggerated or projected negative qualities on someone or something, and as a result, you want to get away from it. You either destroy it in front of you, or you, quote, quote, destroy it by getting away from it and, denying that person of your wonderful presence. But, there's this element of exaggeration in it, yeah? Okay? So we're hyping something up. And you'll notice we get angry over things and we get attached to things that other people don't get angry over and don't get attached to. And if you examine why, it's because we get angry and attached to the things that concern us. And we don't get angry and attached to the things that concern other people, unless that person is influencing us, okay? So anger, you want to destroy it by fighting or fleeing, yeah? That's very different, again, from speaking forcefully, because sometimes to communicate with somebody, yeah, you have to speak forcefully so that they know that you're serious about what you're talking about. So the example I always give is your child runs in the middle of I-90, okay? And what do? You just kind of walk out there sweetly, and you pick, Susie or Johnny up and say, dear one, don't go run in front of the cars on the highway. That's not what you do, is it? You go out there, you pick that kid up, and you shake, you go like this, and you look at them in the eye, and you say, do not go in the highway again. Okay, and that's how, for a very young child, you communicate that. Otherwise, if you say it sweetly, it's in one ear and out the other because they don't see the danger in what they did. Okay, so sometimes, too, with adults, being kind doesn't just mean that, oh, it's all right. Like in a case of domestic abuse, you beat me last night, but I forgive you. I'm very compassionate. I'm not angry. You can beat me again tonight. That's ridiculous. Okay? So you don't need to be angry at that person, but you can be quite forceful and say, this behavior is unacceptable. Goodbye. Okay? Because if you don't make a strong statement, they don't get it. Okay? So you can make a strong statement without being angry. Yeah? And again, we'll see that in our teachers sometimes. Yeah? I remember one time Lama Yeshe, because Lama Yeshe was always joking and very kind. It was really wonderful, And one time, one person came in late for puja, and he stopped the whole thing and kind of told us all off, really made it clear how we were, one person came in late, but things had been building up, and he spoke very clearly about what the behavior was inappropriate and unsuitable and needs to be changed, And we all sat up straight. Yeah, because he wasn't joking this time. Lots of times he joked, and it was a nice way of saying something serious. Yeah, but this way it wasn't. Okay, so that isn't anger, that is dealing with something in a way that it needs to be dealt with. Yeah, and you just have to check your mind that you don't rationalize your anger and act like that. Okay, then there's lots of other things that I'm sure you're looking at. Anybody suffer from the planning mind? Yeah, anybody spending many sessions planning? Yeah, and so, yes, I know that mind well. I would go on one retreat and plan all the future retreats I was going to go on, and all the future teachings I was going to take, and plan my whole Dharma career. Meanwhile, not doing the retreat I was in, but just planning everything, yeah. So it's very interesting to look at the planning mind, because it's a mind that wants security. Yeah? When we have a plan, we feel secure. We feel like we have some control in a world that basically we don't have a lot of control over. But if we have a plan, then we feel, okay, I have a plan. But what happens, we spend a lot of time making the plan, which may or may not happen. And when conditions, well, put it this way, we make the plan, and then we worry if we're going to be able to execute the plan. Because what happens if this happens, and what happens if that, and what happens? So you have your plan to make you feel secure, and then you worry that the plan's not going to happen. Okay? So I think it's very interesting here to do some meditation on emptiness, not on emptiness, on impermanence, and really begin to feel how our life is in the very nature of change and unpredictability. And that's the way it is. And to, on one hand, use that as a motivation to get out of samsara, and on the other hand, to use that to avoid worrying and anxiety. Okay? Because things are impermanent, we cannot change that nature. Doesn't matter how many plans we have. Doesn't matter how many insurance policies we have. Doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. You never have enough. Yeah, do you know anybody who has enough money? Everybody could always use some more. So we just have to learn to relax within knowing that things change, and that some of the changes will come about quickly and we cannot predict them. Okay? But having a confidence that we can deal with change, and that having something unexpected happen can be kind of like an adventure that wakes you up. Okay? So instead of dreading things and clinging on to everything being predictable, chilling out a little bit. Okay? Now, it's true, we do need plans. Yeah, otherwise, it's chaotic. So you have a plan, but being the disciple of my teacher, the foremost teachings he's given me is when you have a plan, you know what will not happen. Okay? Whatever time things are set to happen, they will not happen at that time. Okay? But you're so anxious that maybe this one time they will. Yeah. But, what use is the anxiety? Yeah, most of our anxiety, yeah, worrying about whether our plans are going to happen or not, is useless. I mean, I would say all of our anxiety is useless because of the way anxiety holds on to its object, you know. There is a way of looking at something and saying it may happen, it may not happen. You know, I'd like it to happen. If it doesn't happen, I can handle that. I have resources internally to deal with the situation. There are resources in the world that I can rely on. We will get through this. The world is not coming to the end. And anyway, if I die, so be it, because I'm going to die sometime anyway. Okay, so not to be so anxious about death. But then, you know, and then just leave it with that, without this, you know, oh my God, what am I going to do if that happens? What if this happens? What if the other thing happens? I know, because the mind becomes like this. And the mind is not just concrete, because concrete stays in one place. Okay? The mind of anxiety is like concrete, but it shakes. It's like concrete in an earthquake that doesn't stop. I am so anxious because what happens if this, what if this happens, what if this, I can't let that happen. I can't let this happen. This is terrible. This is awful. What am I going to do? Okay? Do you know, I'm exaggerating, but do you know some people whose energy is almost like that at certain times? You can walk into the room and you feel them vibrating because they're like, you know, they're just panicked. So if we're one of those people, and we probably are at one time or another, or maybe we're not that bad, you know, maybe we're just a little bit worrying. You know, we only worry for 3 or 4 hours, not 10 or 20. You know, just to be able to say, this is useless. This is totally useless. You know, change is going to come. I can deal with it. There are resources in the world to deal with it. It will be an adventure, and I will learn a lot. And let's relax and enjoy it. Yeah. Otherwise, you know, you get anxious in the middle of your meditation session. My goodness, here you are, perfect conditions. What you've planned for in so many previous retreats you now have. But now your mind is consumed by anxiety, you know, and worry. And what if they think this about me? What if they think that about me? You know, oh dear, I don't know what people are thinking about me. And if they don't have a good idea of me, this is like almost the end of the world. And what happens if I get that grant? What happens if I don't get that grant? What happens this? What happens there? It's like, relax. Yeah? So I think a lot of people these days, our primary practice needs to be relaxing. Okay? And by relaxing, I don't mean lying on the beach with a beer. Okay? Yeah. Or sitting in front of the tube with, you know, some whiskey. That's not what I'm talking about, relax. I'm talking about relaxing the mind that comes from just realizing we cannot control everything. Yeah? And so rather than try and control everything, you know, they say go with the flow. But go with the flow also is a little bit dangerous, because go with the flow people can also take as don't do anything. Yeah? It's like, oh, the house is burning down. Well, I'll go with the flow. You know? Or, you know, like on that side of the building, there's a huge, or at least a few days ago, a huge overhang of ice, really like this big. And I was like, oh, well, I'll go with the flow, and just hope you're not standing under it when it falls off the roof, okay? So go with the flow doesn't mean you don't do anything, yeah? You take action when you can do something that's beneficial. Yeah, but you don't worry and fret about things, okay? And then your life is so much more relaxed. I mean, it's interesting, just talking like that and giving you that example, I can feel it in my body of what happens when the mind gets tight. Yeah, do you feel it in your body? Yeah, your muscles are tight, your stomach is tight. Yeah, you're on edge. Every little sound, you're like that. Okay, so just try and, chill out, but act when you can do something beneficial that helps yourself or others. Okay.